So, so let's get down to kind of a specific level. How do you promote forgiveness? How do you promote reconciliation? So what we teach people are 5 steps to forgiveness. But I don't want you to think about this like a psychoeducational program. I'm going to give a lecture of these 5 steps. This feels just like counseling, okay? So this is 5 steps to reach forgiveness. The first step is to recall the hurt. So people have to be able to talk about what the issue is. Usually this is not a problem. Usually they're more than willing to talk about what the issue is at great length. The problem is that they have to recall the hurt in a way that's different than the way they usually recall. So that means you let them recall the hurt with all the emotion and the anger, and you just don't let them have tissue damage in the session, okay? And once they've vented that anger, then now you stop them, you slow them down, you try to get them to recall it in a different way. If you try to tell them from the beginning, I want you to tell me the story of what happened, but I don't want you to get upset. You just lost. They will get upset, and then you have disempowered yourself. So we don't want them victimizing themselves. We don't want them blaming the other person. Eventually, you're going to try to get them to tell the story the second time in a way that doesn't victimize or blame. The second step is E, empathize with the person who harmed you. So when I say empathize, that's actually shorthand for empathize, sympathize, feel compassion, or feel love for the person who harmed you. So if this is a couple, that means feeling love for your partner can help replace the negative emotions of unforgiveness. So for emotional forgiveness is replacing negative, unforgiving emotions with positive, other-oriented emotions. This is the part that is the most important part of promoting forgiveness. Helping them see the other person's perspective, feel what the other person feels, feel compassion for the person, sympathy for the person if they can't feel empathy for them, love for the person. This is hard to do. People don't want to do this. They will resist you. And you know, it's going to take a while. So we've actually done research on this, and we have compared groups in which we have approached them and said, we want you to forgive because it's harmful to you holding a grudge. And it will be helpful if you forgive. It will help your relationship, it will help your physical health, it will help your mental health, it will help your spiritual walk if you forgive. That has a positive effect. On a scale of 0 to 10, the effect is about 4. Okay? However, if you follow up with these people 3 weeks later, the effect is just 3. And if you follow up 3 more weeks later, the effect is just 2. So about the steady state effect that appealing to forgive because it's good for you to forgive is 2 out of 10. But if you appeal to them to forgive because they're able to empathize with the person, sympathize, feel compassion, feel love for them, in 1 hour, the effect is about 1, but it lasts. In 2 hours, the effect is about 2. 4 hours, the effect is about 5. 8 hours, the effect is 10. So basically, if you're going to hit forgiveness in a counseling session with a couple, and you are only going to spend an hour, you're better off appealing to them to forgive because it's good for you to forgive. But if you're going to be able to spend 2 or 3 hours, you're going to have more long-term effect, even though it's tougher in the first steps, appealing to them through this model to help them reach forgiveness. Okay, so there are a lot of ways to do this. One of the ways that we try to do this is we use an empty chair technique. Everybody familiar with the empty chair technique? So we get one person at a time to work, to talk to the empty chair. They talk to the empty chair, they get over in the partner's position, they talk as the partner. They get back, they answer. The partner is meanwhile watching all of this. They're literally empathizing by getting in the other person's chair. So this can have a good effect at producing empathy. The moment of truth, they felt empathy for the partner. They felt sympathy for the partner's position. They felt compassion on the partner, love for the partner, and now you're ready to try to help them forgive. So you say to them, have you ever in your life been offended other people and been forgiven? Now, Christians will sometimes say, yeah, you know, like, I'm grateful that God forgave me for my sin. And we say, that's great. That's wonderful. But I don't want you to use your relationship with God right here, because later you're going to get around to saying, yeah, well, of course God forgave me. God's God. You see? And then that will mean you'll disqualify your ability to forgive. So I want you to use another person that you harmed in some way, and that person forgave you. So we get people to think of that. It's hard, but they end up doing it. We've had like 4,000 people run through these groups, and nobody's reported coming up with a 0 on that. They always can find somebody that they hurt and that forgave them. And then after they've described that incident, we ask them, how did that feel? And they will say the same thing. They will always say, when I felt forgiven, I felt light. I felt like a weight came off my shoulder. I felt chains come off of me. I felt free. There's all these freedom and lightness metaphors. And when they say that, after they say that, then we say, wouldn't you like to give that same gift that you experience to your partner by forgiving your partner? They usually go, not today. Yeah. And so we'll say, so how much forgiveness can you grant? So if you were this unforgiving, if you were 10 points of unforgiveness at the beginning of this session, and after talking, how are you now? And they'll go, well, I've forgiven 80%. I'm at 2. Okay? So they made progress. We get them to fill out a certificate that is for them, not for anybody else, saying, today I forgave 80%. Make change sensible. Okay, so then we'll capitalize on that, build on it by repeating and doing it again. Whoops, sorry, went backwards. Okay, commit to the forgiveness that you have experienced. This is the filling out of the certificate. So the reason that you get the person to commit by writing it down, by writing a letter about their forgiveness, is because they will doubt that they have forgiven. They will see that person tomorrow. That person will do something that reminds them of the old hurt, and they'll go, dang, I'm just as mad as I was before, and I thought I'd forgiven that stupid psychologist. Doesn't know what he's talking about. You see? Well, they did forgive 80%. They worked through this and they forgave. That doesn't mean they're not going to be upset when they see a reminder of this. It's like putting your hand on a hot stove and burning it. I'm wounded. I'm hurt. I heal up. If I get my hand near the eye and I feel that heat, I get angry, I get hurt, I get stressed all over again. What's wrong? Am I not forgiving the eye? No, it doesn't make any sense to forgive a stove eye, right? So what's happening to my body? Well, this is what God did for us. God put in us an ability, if we have been hurt, to protect ourselves. That's what's happening when they see the same thing happen again. They go, their body is going, you got hurt the last time this happened. You need to take steps to protect yourself right here. It's not unforgiveness. It's self-protection that is being cued. So we've got these 5 steps to reach forgiveness. That's hold on to the forgiveness when you doubt, and hurt does not equal unforgiveness, is what I just explained with the stove eye. Okay, the white bears is, we try to show them that it's really fruitless to try to, if you're starting to feel negative toward the person, it's fruitless to try to control your thoughts. That this idea of thought stopping is a wonderful idea, but it just doesn't work. It just has this minor little flaw. So people can't, for example, stop thinking of white bears, right? Don't think of white bears right now. Don't think of their little black nose and old claws, Whatever you do, don't think of the real white, moving shape. Do you think of white bears? Yeah, right. I told you not to. Are y'all like rebellious or something? No, well, anytime you say, don't think about this, stop thinking about these negative thoughts, you're just programming yourself to think about them. You see. Okay, so what we have here is we have these 5 steps to reach forgiveness. And before I talk about reconciling, about the bridge to reconciliation, what is going to happen is we're going to show some excerpts from me working with a couple.